In this video, I am going to transform my debut novel into an audiobook. I've just had laryngitis and my voice is pretty shot right now, but that's okay. I've already got it started with an actual professional audiobook reader who's doing all the female chapters.
Empowered by your goddess, I. Empowered to kill the child of a god.
But I've committed to doing the male chapters, which is 40% of the book. And I've never done this before. And I don't want it to be crap. I can't record it now though, because my voice is shot. But what I can do is make a recording space. Now, fortunately, when we built this studio, we had all of the walls filled with acoustic insulation and acoustic plaster. So everything is actually pretty decent in terms of soundproofing. And I have this corner here, which is under the stairs, which is sort of like a weirdly awkward place that I can't use for much. And since I can't record my audiobook anyway, because I got a shot throat, I'm gonna get started with some construction and turn this awkward, weird corner into the ideal recording environment. Now, acoustic treatment can be easy and cheap, but I've personally always loved the look of those neatly foam-clad recording nooks and decided, since I plan to be writing many more novels and therefore recording many more audiobooks in the future, it would be worth building something a little longer lasting for myself. For anyone interested in getting into this yourself, 90% of the quality of your audio recording will be from the space you're recording in. And that is produced from two properties, referred to as soundproofing and acoustic treatment. They are different things, even though people often confuse them for each other. Soundproofing is proofing a space so that sound does not enter from an external environment. So if your neighbor mows the lawn, the better soundproofed your room is, the more isolated you are from all other noise. Acoustic treatment is the treatment of surfaces within that room to avoid reverberation and bounce. And this is why you'll see foam in corners and on walls in recording studios, and of course why one of the best ways to record is actually in a closet or a cupboard with draped blankets. Achieving good soundproofing and acoustic treatment can actually be really cheap and really easy, but I thought this could be a good chance to do something with the corner I really had little use for anyway. Then again, maybe building an audio booth under stairs is a bad idea, because, you know, people walk up and down them, and that makes sound, but let's not think about that. It's done! I have permanently changed my studio, which now features an audio nook. Audiobook nook. And when you come in here and shut the curtains, it feels like a vacuum of sound. It's really cool. And the cool thing is, the way that it's all aligned and the way I've got this light, white and gray, picks up color really nicely. So I can create a really cool, moody nook. It's been a couple of weeks since I had laryngitis. So I'm like hyper aware of the state of my voice, my throat, especially because I'm gonna start recording an audiobook first thing tomorrow morning. I'm a little bit nervous, I gotta be honest, because Helen Keeley, who is my co-reader, her lines and reads have all been coming through and they're phenomenal.
Sam stopped in her tracks as she felt the familiar vibrations of marching footsteps. This might be our only chance to get to the administration floor.
But the good news is, because I've got them, I have a reference that I can sort of lean on to try and get the vibe, make sure we're matching character accents, and even our EQing, make sure that the post-production and the quality checking all sort of aligns and it all feels like it goes together. So now I need to actually set up the recording situation with my Rodecaster, I need my computer and a screen to read the book, and the microphone. This might have been a little over the top. Maybe this is like part of my nervousness, that I want the result to be as good as humanly possible. And obviously the biggest part of that is my performance. I really want to do a great job, but the sound quality and recording fidelity also really matters to me. So I did my research, and the microphone that I see is this, the Neumann TLM 103. So I am slightly doing the thing where you buy the professional hardware that people use and hope it makes you as professional as them. There we go. Ooh. So next I've just got to get it all in place, do some test recordings and see if I can get that raw quality exactly where I need it. So with the space prepared and the equipment set up, I was finally ready to start recording, but it won't have been my first time recording an audiobook, technically.
I'm going to be editing
as I go. So occasionally I will need to pause, or there will be rephrases or catches. So this is not a professional production. Let's go. I had, I guess, what you would call a practice run, because in the process of editing my book, I found it was much easier for me to notice awkward prose or clunky dialogue by reading things aloud. And so when I was editing my earliest draft ready to hand over to beta readers, I also just recorded the whole thing as I read aloud, so I could also get feedback from beta listeners. In an instant, the alarms began to sound and the red lights spun. The sudden burst of tumult had confused the creature, while Sam and Aidan darted into the western corridors and closed the doors behind them. The primary purpose of the practice run was editing and having something to hand over to listeners, but not really focused on performance. She could feel cold spreading its creeping grasp. Oh, no, let's cut that one. Corridor floor. Their procession throughout the combat-ravaged corridor. But it did help me mentally prepare for the endurance run that would be recording an audiobook, which still turned out to be even more than I expected. Okay, now we're recording there, and here. Okay, so this is about getting the best room sound possible. I do have the air conditioner going in there because, well, it's been a lot of work. But even so, okay, you can hear it. This is with no quieteners or no post-processing. Ready? I think there's a little something, and I think it's the camera. So that's when the post-processing comes in, because we can add some noise reduction, and I mean, there's like a default processing, so if I just press that, oh my God. Oh my God. I've done basically nothing. And it sounds immaculate. So the other thing I want to try, and I'm actually going to turn processing off for this, these are pop filters. So this is like a really basic default one. And the idea of this is to reduce what they call plosives. So if I say, why are you doing that all of a sudden? I fixed it. So if I say, Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled, Peter Piper picked a pack of, Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled, it doesn't make a huge difference. With it off, Peter Piper, like, because I haven't got it directly in front of my mouth, if I went Peter Piper picked a pack of, you get the idea. I don't like that. Stop doing that. No. Okay. So the trick will be to get it sounding right, and then don't move. I mean, that sounds bloody good. Having some sort of pop filter like this, which isn't too stifling, and once I touch it and get it in the right place, I've got my nice room audio. This is good. No, this is great. This sounds bloody fantastic. Now I just need to read it and make that sound good. Okay, now I'm nervous again. This is where I'd like to share some of my qualifications, because while this is technically my first professional audio book, it isn't my first time professionally using my voice in different capacities. Very early in my career, I was an animator and game developer, and with that comes pitching in at every level that you can, which included voice acting.
So you think you've won, do you, boy?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I've got my sword to your
So from the time I was a teenager and well into adulthood, I was voice acting the characters that I was creating. And any of you who have been around this channel for a long time know that I've done a lot of playing around with my voice on this channel too.
Once upon a time, in a small alleyway in Paris, there lived a talented artist known as French JAZZA.
Also, before this channel, which was formerly Draw with JAZZA, picked up and became my career, I was sort of toing and froing as to whether I would be a musician and singer or visual artist. I became more a visual artist, but there was that time where I had created a lot of independent music and covers and recordings of my own songs. I did busking every weekend in the city, which of course entails a lot of managing your voice and using it to project, and taught me a lot of microphone technique, both in live and recorded situations. And I was also a singing student and a singing teacher. I had students that I taught, and I have a pretty good familiarity with how my voice and the support system in my body for my voice works. I have a background in theatre, which is where I met my wife, and entails a lot of lessons in breath control and projection. And of course, when it comes to the theatrics and emotion of performing an audiobook, my roleplay channel, Tabletop Time Roleplay, will certainly prove to you that I have a long-term passion for bringing versatile characters to life.
And the last time we met an old person looking unassuming, that didn't go quite well either, so maybe we don't trust old people while we're on this island.
Heed my words, tamer of hearts, that you may lift the souls of the broken, that they may rise up against the gathering powers of those that conspire with watchful eyes.
I'm gone after this. But shortly after you kill me, I think you'll realize who I am.
Now, all this is, of course, to promise you guys, I swear, I'm a professional. I know some of this stuff, but it is still hard doing something new for the first time. So this video is going to show you the warts and all of me figuring out this craft. I have a mug of lukewarm water. I do not feel ready, but I never will. So that's how you know it's time to start. Okay, I should also say at this point, I think genetically I have like a lazy larynx or something, because my dad always did like, and my son also has similar. I don't know if it's like an over-developing of like mucus in the throat, but I do clear my throat a lot. Obviously I will be editing all of this out, but it also means to get like the right tone of voice in like a deeper voice, often I'll just need to clear to sort of reset. So we'll make a supercut of all of them put together for you to enjoy. Starting with that one. This is so gross. I'm removing like a coating, but if I re-swallow it, I'm just sort of putting it back on. And I completely forgot about this. I read the whole audiobook to send to beta listeners, and I had a spit cup. So it's gross, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay. I am quite nervous. Get in the zone. Let's get in the story. You know what? I'm just going to go, and then I can restart if I want to. There's no reason I can't do this 100 times if I want to. Prologue. Awakening. I wait in the eternal void of pure consciousness, where the great Nibukazo speaks to me. Aside from being a new challenge for me, I also started off in hard mode, because the prologue is one of 5 chapters in the book where the perspective is a first-person point of view of Narbek, an old, wise warrior with a deep, manly voice. Need to find his voice. I'm going to start again. The problem is I don't naturally have a deep, manly voice. I can produce one with a bit of warming up and the help of a microphone, but I had to draw from all of my experience in all of these other fields to control my voice down at the level that I wanted it to be for this character.
They awaken.
Deep is not my stomping ground. Let's just put it that way. And it took quite a bit of pushing for me to get the voice at the depth that I wanted.
I wait in the eternal void. In the eternal void of pure consciousness, pure, more R. The steel of my seed and the cold of my ship are far from me. The steel of my seed and the cold of my ship are far from me now.
So I actually read through a couple of pages and started to feel my voice click a little bit. I'd warmed up a bit and was resting a bit more naturally in a deeper place. So I started again, this time a bit more comfortable. All right, I'm actually going to start again because I've just felt like I've rested in a comfortable place. And I want to do that from the very beginning.
I commanded my children to find it and return it to me, but they did not obey.
That was better. Start off with the hard voice. Let's do our neutral. Now, I had just started recording my parts of the audiobook. Wait, are we saying chapter?
1.
No, we're just saying the number, because that's all I wrote. I didn't write chapter 2. I
wrote 2.
But Helen Keeley, as it turned out, had mostly finished her parts. Thank you, laryngitis, for holding me back a little bit extra. Because I asked her to record some of her process so I could see a little bit about how a professional does it and so I could share that with you.
Welcome to my tiny little booth under the stairs, like I am Harry Potter.
I have a booth under the stairs too. Twinsies.
This is chapter 22. 22. Surge. Sam and Aidan scrambled back to the northern doorway. As people
Now, I found Helen when I was searching high and low for the best person to read the female point of view chapters in my novel. Now this is really important to me because the main protagonist in my story is a female, so her voice really matters to me. But also how our voices would go together really matters as well. I personally love audiobooks where there is that split narration between male and female. Michael Kramer and Kate Redding and Brandon Sanderson novels is a great example. The way it can sort of theatrically transport you through different perspectives. And Helen Keeley was my topic, so the fact that she agreed to star in my audiobook meant that I was over the moon and very excited. And after hearing what she delivered before I even got to start recording mine meant that I was certainly eager to try and justify and match and fit well with what she had already sent me.
Sam grabbed a fistful of Aidan's shirt. "Where are we going?" he stammered. "Away!" she shouted, pulling him as far from the southern doors as she could move him.
Now, when I've talked about this process with family and friends, one question that has popped up a few times is why British narration, both in the female and myself, because I would be reading in a British accent. Well, that one's easy to answer because an Aussie voice would be a bit too jarring, especially in the world of my imagining. Aussie accents in media, don't love them, honestly. Sorry, fellow Aussies, we don't sound great. We sound like just drunk English people. But I also think in this instance, my novel is science fantasy. So it's like science fiction with a lot of fantasy elements, and a British accent to me has that fantasy element. And I really do feel like the series I'm building leans more fantasy than science. And there are also characters I've just never pictured having American accents. Now, working with Helen Keeley was incredible because she is such a perfect fit with a huge amount of experience in science fiction and fantasy. So she's got huge versatility in her voice, but her neutral reading voice fits really well with what I pictured as Samantha Weaver, the main protagonist's voice.
She knew she and Aidan had only this brief moment to decide what to do and where to go, before everything around them fell apart irreparably. Panic broke out, with people scattering in every direction. They hid, looted supplies or ran into the western hangar, but well clear of the Urson ship.
Now, when I first got her files delivered to me, it scared the crap out of me because there were no mistakes. And I was like, crap, like I expected to have to edit, but fortunately I discovered, because I had asked her to film some of her process for this video, that she does make mistakes, a lot fewer than I do, but enough to show me how she catches them and recovers in the moment. And interestingly, what I didn't realize is that she seems to edit as she goes, re-recording lines and timing them as she hears the place where she's going to pick back up from.
This might be our only chance. This might be our only chance to get to the administration floor. I realised I said Lars sudden doorway or Lard sudden doorway. So I'm just going to do a quick pickup and edit that in. Stannis reached the large southern doorway and scanned his ID cuff. Narbeck roared, "Gizzy! Formations! Fire!" I think that peaked. Gizzy! Formations! I am Narbeck. Gizzy, formations, fire. Gizzy, formations, fire!
Now, with that said, I make a lot more mistakes than Helen Keeley because I haven't recorded hundreds of audiobooks.
I abide the edict, he proclaimed, with placity. With a placate, he proclaimed with a placate.
She's obviously got it down to a fine-tuned system, and I felt like if I was editing live on the go, I would be pulling myself out of my performance. But fortunately, I have a team to help me out, and Benny, a very experienced editor who's edited this video and all the other ones you've seen in here for years, would be someone I could lean on and hand over my raw recordings with all the mistakes to edit out for me so I could just focus on the performance. Thanks, Benny. Appreciate you. Now, there were two major differences between the process of recording my beta audiobook sort of test run and the real thing. The first is that words are hard. When you really need the performance of them to be good, you're going to notice the things you need to retake a lot more. You're going to notice the tone problems a lot more, so there's a lot more retakes.
The screen flicked to the overview. Overview.
And weirdly enough, I think sometimes like being at a higher level of articulation and focus and performance can actually make you stumble across your words a little more sometimes.
Overview.
I think mainly because you're more focused on the current and next thing you're reading, that sometimes the thing after that catches you off guard, or you're not sort of ready for it in your mouth. You trip up a bit.
The screen flicked to the overview, but this time...
The second thing that kind of shocked me is that the vocal fatigue was a whole nother level. When I recorded the beta audiobook, I did the whole thing in a 13-hour non-stop recording session. And my voice was tired at the end of the day, but I was just mainly reading with my normal, neutral British accent voice.
When Sam reached the narrow sea crew passageway, she quickly ducked out of sight and breathed a few silent, gulping gasps of relief.
But when recording the actual audiobook, it shocked me how quickly my voice would fatigue from concentrated use.
Pavel hissed, his words thick as if his tongue was swollen, his voice rasping from overuse. Relatable.
Now, while that, of course, in part would come from the increased vocal intensity, but to a large degree, I think it really comes from my need to clear my throat more. And when you think about it, coughing and clearing your throat is quite an aggressive vibration. It's kind of like an internal attack. But because I knew the quality of vocal tone I was after, and I could internally feel the build-up of goop as I was working, I had to clear my throat every few sentences at least, and when trying to do deeper voices, a lot more often.
Miguan cleared her throat. I do those, don't I? And so did Jazza.
So honestly, I think clearing my throat was the major wearing factor on my voice.
Samantha Weaver, Junction, she replied. Sam. She reached out her hand. Words. Stannis could. Quiet, you.
And based on that practice run beta audiobook that I made, I expected to be able to record my actual audiobook in a couple of days in a few long sessions. As it turns out, I would instead need to do it 1 or 2 chapters a day spread over several weeks. Simply because after a couple of chapters, I could feel my voice be less capable, and I wanted to make sure I just was able to get the best performance with every chapter that I possibly could.
Stannis had a pretty decent understanding of the colony. We need to stop them. Now,
Challenges and vocally disruptive throat clearing aside, I loved this process. This was such a fun craft to do, and I knew I'd wanted to do it for a long time, and to finally be able to do it, and for my own book, was just such a treat. I'm a performer at heart. I love being immersed in characters and stories. I've always loved getting lost in really well-read, immersive audiobooks, and I've been dying to do something like that myself. And the process was every bit as addictive as I hoped it would be.
He was Devon, and now he's not. There's nothing left of him. Those things took him. Your authority means spit now that we're all locked in here together. So finally, I'm the one who gets to say, watch your tone with me. That bastard's gonna cause trouble. I could tell. I'm Stannis. Well, that bastard's gonna cause trouble. I can tell.
Stannis said to Sam as she joined him. With that being said, it's still an entirely new craft to me, a new application of some of the other sporadic skills I've learned over many years and an area I wanted to do a good job of. So it was super helpful to have Helen's work to sort of lean on, not only in terms of knowing what to aim for and what to match, but also sometimes being able to literally just reference her work and make sure I was doing the right thing. I'm just gonna check her depiction of Aiden around this time to see how injured he sounds.
Aiden muttered weakly. Down to the first mining level. Over a mile down.
Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit. That's the one furthest to the right. The one I sat at when I was in there with you. Now, as I alluded to before, the most vocally intense chapters for me were Narbek's first-person chapters, speaking in the worn, old, deep voice of the warrior.
I cannot free you until I know the truth.
This chapter's gonna f my throat up.
Even in the face of the unknown.
That was the one. My frickin' tummy interrupted me. Or my throat, something gurgling.
Not because I am immortal.
Okay, my voice is straining too much to go deep. So I'm going to call it and come back to this one. But on one morning when I came in to record one of his chapters, I thought to myself that it might be a good warm-up to sing along to the bass singer's version of a pirate song that has popped up on my TikTok feed a few times, which it turns out was actually a pretty good warm-up.
Yo-ho, all hands, hoist the colors high, heave-ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die.
Alright, that's my warm-up. Hope I've actually warmed up. And from that point on, the recordings of Narbek were the most comfortable that I'd ever been able to get them.
I do not fear death as you do. Not because I am immortal.
Okay.
I do not fear death as you do. Not because I am immortal, but because, even before I became Starborn, my family and tribe taught me that death is as natural and important as life. Our calling to give of ourselves, to preserve and ascend humanity.
I did it! I did it! The longest one! Ah! So much so that I actually decided to go back to the start because he opens the book, and by this stage I had recorded all of my parts of the audiobook, so I came back to the beginning to be able to finish the very first impression people would get with the experience that I'd gained through the course of all of my recording.
I wait in the eternal void of pure consciousness, where the great Nibukazo speaks to me. I wait in the eternal void of pure consciousness, where the great Nibukazo speaks to me. The steel of my seat and the cold of my ship are far from me now.
Now, if there's anything that's hard to get across to you in this video, it's how long this takes and how much of an endurance process it is, both the recording and the editing. Thanks, Benny. But the audiobook as a whole for this is 13 hours. And when you think about like my half of that and how many throat clears and edits there are, you know, this is weeks of work doing a couple of hours a day. But one thing I didn't realize until we got to post is how good it would be after the edit.
Master, what would you have of me?
I think I was just stuck in that place of thinking of it as not very good or professional because of my throat clearing and because it felt like a push to sort of get my voice into the places I want. But when I didn't have all of that circling around my head and I was just listening to the result, I was so excited and proud of what was produced, and with the fact that we got to make it even cooler.
His own fear got the better of him, and he fired into their midst, eviscerating the Mori before him.
You see, it turns out that Benny and I share quite a lot of instinct and passion when it comes to the post-production of audio clips like this, and it was so fun to work together to come up with really cool music beds and sound effect ideas that we can put in different scenes to bring them to life.
The giant door lifted, wrenched up by the clawed arms. The metal pawed feet merged into mottled, fur-covered legs. The door paused momentarily, until once again the guttural roar broke out, bestial and fearsome as it heaved.
And so that is the story about how I turned this into what how do I show you that? I can't. We'll do reveals. We'll do reveals for this, and we'll show or play some of the coolest snippets of the audiobook. But I guess it's one of those things that you kind of have to experience to appreciate and enjoy what's gone into it. Both from Helen's performance and Benny's work in post-production, I have enjoyed every second of making it, not only the book, but the audiobook itself, and there is certainly more to come.
Even as I try to comprehend the magnitude of my vision, I am pulled backwards, away from the great relic, and once again into the darkness of the frozen earth. I am not alone. There are others on this world. At first I sense the familiar ones around me, the dim lights of mortal souls scattered beneath the earth, but quickly my mind is drawn to something else. Something profane. They awaken.
I need to speak to a captain, she continued. It's urgent. There's been an infestation. She raised her arm while she spoke, bringing something in her hand to Stannis' attention. It was shocking. What in the... That's from the infestation. Sam nodded. They're like huge roaches, as tall as you, hunched over, with these for arms. We've escaped at least 5, but I don't know how many more there are. They're fast. They could tear a person apart in seconds. Is Captain Davies around here? We really need to move, Stannis.
The massive door continued to rise, even as it moved above the warriors' heads. The monstrous creature in the middle, taller and even more terrifying than the soldiers, continued to push up on its own. It was an intimidating amalgamation of bear and machine. Wires and cybernetics threaded its tangled dark body, furry at its core and upper extremities. Its limbs transformed into its large metal claws, connected with hydraulics and thick cables, protruding from its flesh.
Narbek called above the cacophony.
Make way for the light and the mercy of the Zenitharch, whom you serve! Remember!
That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until next time, I'll see you later.